So in this tutorial, we're going to create a workflow between After Effects and Cinema 4D. And I'm just going to show you the very basics in this lesson, and later we can move on to more complicated stuff. So I'm just going to create a new Cinema 4D file, and I'm going to save this just anywhere. I'm going to call it temp, and just going to save it to my temp folder. This opens up Cinema 4D automatically, so I'm just going to resize my window here. So this starts up Cinema 4D automatically, and we need to make some changes to this project. So the project settings, the frame rate, I'm going to make 25 frames a second, and I'm going to increase my frame range to 200 frames. So we've got some more frames to play with. Okay, next I'm going to go to render settings here, and I'm going to change this to HDTV 16:9, which is pretty much the standard these days. The width I'm going to set to 1920 by 1080 full HD lock ratio, and the frame rate I'm going to set to 25 frames a second. I'm going to choose all frames and just make sure that the frame rate here matches the project settings frame rate. I'm just going to close this, and I'm going to create a floor and a sphere. The sphere's radius is 100 centimeters, so if I just move it up along Y, it should be touching the ground perfectly. And I'm just going to create a light, put it over here, and I'm going to give it a shadow. So I'm going to give it a soft shadow, and we can't see anything, so I'm just going to go to options and turn on shadows. There we go. So I'm just going to go back to After Effects, and I'm going to drag and drop this into my timeline, and you'll notice that we need to set the composition to the same settings as Cinema 4D. So I'm just going to make this 1080p, 1920 by 1080, lock the ratio here, make sure the frame rate is set to 25 frames a second, the exact same as the Cinema 4D file. Duration's fine. I'm just going to click OK, and you'll notice that for some reason we can't see the floor object and the sphere. So basically we need to go back to Cinema 4D and save this. I'm just going to save the project, and now if I go back to After Effects, it updates. Now this is just software rendering, and we have a few more options. So we have standard draft, and we have standard final, which is basically literally the final render in Cinema 4D. So draft is a pretty good setting to work with, nice and fast. And I'm actually just going to rotate this. So I'm just going to add a quick camera to the scene. Perspective, just turn it on. And I'm just going to give it some very basic animation. Yeah, maybe along X. So I'm just going to keyframe here, come to 200 frames, and place a keyframe here. And I'm just going to save this. Go back to After Effects, and it's updated. As you can see, it takes a while to render. It can be a bit slow, so you might want a fast machine. I'm just going to go back to full because it doesn't seem to make a huge difference. So we can choose no textures just to speed things up. No pre-calculation is good. Basically stops Cinema 4D from doing background processes. Just make sure you uncheck it before the final render. And keep textures in RAM is just another option to kind of save memory. So that's the basic workflow, and the good thing about this is basically we can create maybe a shape object. Oops, that created a mask. I'm just going to lock this layer, create a shape on top of the Cinema 4D project, and give it a drop shadow. And we can basically have as many layers as we want. I'm just going to preview this. So yeah, it takes a while to render, but so in the next few tutorials I'm going to show you how to take full advantage of this workflow. This is just a basic introduction. If you found this tutorial useful, please share it, and thanks for watching.